Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to another backlog cleared video. And today, the backlog I have cleared is my Second Sight special editions. There's not a lot of them, but I've cleared it anyway, so it counts. It's quite a mixed bag of titles. Not really sure whether there's a pattern to how Second Sight do things and choose which titles to get their special edition treatment. They do come in nice sturdy boxes, and some of them have books, scripts, art cards and such like. So the first one, these are just in alphabetical order, they're not numbered. It's The Amazing Mr. Blunden by Lionel Jeffries. And this comes with, again, they always release a standard edition, which is just the standard black Blu-ray. This one comes with the novel that the film's based on, and the usual photo booklet with some posters, and it comes with postery poster, which I never actually put up, but maybe one day I'll have a room just full of posters from Blu-ray releases. Let me know if you have a room full of posters from Blu-ray releases, or whether posters pretty much just go back in the nice box. This is a lovely little family film. It's a U, but it does have some slightly scary moments for children. And it's quite creepy. It's got some time travel. It's about ghosts. And it's a charming little film you could perhaps watch at Christmas. Next is Asylum, with a wonderful hard box and wonderful artwork in the front. This is just plain at the back. This is an Amicus portmanteau, which is a lot of fun. Again, there's also a standard edition, which is essentially just this. There is a poster of what's actually a double-sided poster. Come to the asylum to get killed. I'm not really sure how good that advertising would work for a real asylum. I don't know whether they'd get that many patients if their tagline was come to the asylum and get killed. This is a really fun little portmanteau, as most of the portmanteaus are. There's some alternate artwork. Obviously Amicus with Milton Subotsky and Max Rosenberg. This one was written by Robert Bloch of Psycho fame. There's lovely special features with a whole 1972 programme about Amicus. There's a commentary with the director, Roy Ward Baker, camera operator and the film historian Marcus Hearn. There's an Inside the Fear Factory featurette with Roy Ward Baker, Freddie Francis and Max J. Rosenberg. It's a really nice artwork on that one. Next is The Changeling, which obviously, as everybody knows, I'm not that big of a George C. Scott fan, even though he is in a lot of my favourite films, and I do seem to have quite a lot of George C. Scott films. Again, this has a poster and a lovely booklet. There he is, looking very dashing and dapper. This is a really creepily effective little ghost story with a couple of genuinely give you the heebie-jeebie moments. So I wouldn't watch it if you don't like the heebie-jeebies, but if you like the heebie-jeebies, it's another great subtle performance by George C. Scott. I should say this actually also has the soundtrack included. Next is The Colour of Pomegranates. And this edition has the usual standard black Blu-ray case. This has two cuts of the film, the Parayanov cut and the other cut. It's also got a short film Kazan frescoes, sorry. Kiev frescoes. That's obviously going to be the wrong pronunciation. This is a stunning film with stunning imagery, and this book is full of the stunning imagery and essays and the differences between the two cuts. It's a really nice box as well. Next is the recently released Dawn of the Dead by Romero. I mean, this is a stunning release. There's a 4K version and a Blu-ray version. This is just the Blu-ray version. It's actually watching it and going through the extras and stuff, it's actually a bit sad that Romero didn't actually get to see this release, because it's a beautiful release. I'll just quickly go through it, I'm not going to spend too much time. We all know the film, but the artwork is quite beautiful. It's a 7-disc set. It has 3 discs of music, the Goblin soundtrack, and various other De Wolf Library music. And then we have the 4 discs of the actual film. So we have the theatrical cut, the extended can cut, the Argento cut, and the special features. There's brand new special features where they go back to the mall with Tom Savini and the DP. And there's interviews with people who played zombies. This is a really lovely hardback book, which is 156 pages of just wonderful stuff. Great pictures, even though you can't actually see any of them. A really beautiful hardback book. You get some art cards, and you also get the novelisation in a nice little paperback. So again, it is a bit sad that George Romero never actually got to see this release, because he deserved to see it. I mean, you see in the extra features and the bonus editions how much he was loved by the people who worked with him. I mean, Romero is one of those guys that you just never hear a bad word about. It's funny that quite a lot of people involved in the horror films are actually some of the nicest people in the industry, if you go by what people say. You know, Cronenberg and Carpenter and Wes Craven and Romero. Yes, it was expensive, but I kind of felt I owed it to George. And hopefully if he comes back as a zombie, he'll be able to see that nice set. Next is Flight of the Navigator, which is one of those films I saw as a child. This and The Last Starfighter were pretty much, again, poster. The standard edition is now out, I believe. It's a 4K scan, lots of interviews with producers and the actors and about the special effects, and there's a commentary as well, and quite a lovely thick book which has the storyboards and essays. I'll try and put that away. That's Flight of the Navigator. A lot of fun. Next is another Amicus portmanteau. This is The House That Dripped Blood, which again is a lot of fun. This nice box again. It has a poster and a nice little book. There's Ingrid Pitt. There's John Pertwee and Ingrid Pitt. It's a fun little film. Again, I think that's got a standard release now as well. And then we have In Bruges, and this one comes with obviously the standard edition black Blu-ray. It comes with a copy of the script and obviously the essay book. Again, it's a fun little film. Perhaps if you don't like swearing, Ray Fiennes gives a wonderful turn. Slightly unusual turn for Ray Fiennes, but that's In Bruges. Hi, Martin McDonough. Next is one of my favourite films of all time. This appeared in my favourite 150 films series. Roger Corman's excellent 1963 film, Man with the X-Ray Eyes, starring Ray Milland. One of two films that Ray Milland said were his best when he looked back in his career, the other one being Billy Wilder's Lost Weekend. One day, hopefully, I will put that poster up because that's lovely artwork. About so much more than just a scientist who gets X-ray vision. There's so much more going on. I mean, Corman packs so many things, so many layers, just like the layers that Ray Milland strips away with his X-ray vision into 79 minutes. You know, Corman puts more in those 79 minutes than quite a lot of directors would do in about 3 films. There's Ray Milland looking shifty, as he does for most of his career. There's a really nice picture, and there's Don Rickles in one of his best performances as a slime ball. He's obviously not as slime ball in the credits. There's some alternate posters. It's always been one of my favourite films, back to having it in VHS, recorded off the television probably. The Man with the X-Ray Eyes, great little film. Next is Revenge, a film that Nazarene Prod did a video on, with Revenge and Prevenge, which you should go check out. It's about a girl out in the middle of nowhere taking revenge on some scumbags. Not the most original film in the world, but stylishly done. If you're not a fan of copious amounts of blood, then probably give it a miss. It's a really nice looking film. and short enough not to outstay its welcome, which is always a good trick to be able to do if you're making a film. Next is Take Shelter with Michael Shannon and Jessica Chastain as a farmer who thinks the apocalypse is coming and decides to build a shelter for his family, and everybody thinks he's mentally disturbed. I wouldn't say it's a great film, but it's certainly an interesting little film. And again, that'll have a standard release too. Next is Under the Shadow, which is an Iranian film from 2016, or directed by a guy who was brought up in Iran before he moved to London. Again, it's essentially kind of a J-horror but in Iran, set during the Iran-Iraq war in the 80s. So it has a really broken, disturbed feel. There's a couple of genuinely creepy moments. It's kind of a J-horror mixed a little with a paranormal activity film, essentially about a mother and her daughter. After the apartment block gets bombed, people are evacuating and they stay behind to try and find the daughter's doll. It's about the legend of the jinn, who are little demon creatures who are even mentioned in the Quran. There's just more layers to it, just because of, you have this woman, because she was part of the revolution and part of the left wing, she can't go back to university to learn to become a doctor because they won't let her back in. So the whole film, there's all these characters telling her what to do, and you shouldn't do that and you shouldn't do this, and she's trying to take control of her life, protect her daughter. So you have all of that going on. You have the bombings and the war going on around it, and it's mixed in with this superstition, this supernatural stuff that's going on. It's a really lovely little film. Again, it kind of starts as a almost socio-political discussion, and then it gets a little bit dark and scary. Next is Upgrade, which is really surprising. I wasn't expecting this to be as good, but it's a really good low-budget science fiction film by Lee Winnell, who wrote and starred in Saw and recently did an adaptation of The Invisible Man, which is actually pretty decent. But this one is really good. I would give this a 4 out of 5. Again, kind of Blade Runner-y. About a man who is beaten to a pulp and then gets upgrades in his body. There's an amazing fight scenes. For a low budget film, the production design is beautiful. You do feel like it could be a real world, not that far in the future from our own. It's a beautiful film again. For a low budget, it really looks good. It's clever. It makes you think. It's not signposted. Maybe a little. But I was really surprised. It is actually a little gem, I would say. Next is Walkabout by Nicholas Roeg in a big thick box. Just in case you don't know what the sound of a big thick box sounds like. This is also a beautiful film. I mean, I've never been a huge fan of Walkabout, but it's still like a 4 out of 5. Obviously that's the standard Blu-ray. This has a new 4K scan, an interview with Luke Rogue, who plays Boy in the film, and David Thompson, an interview with producer, and another interview with Luke Rogue, an interview with Jenny Agutter, an interview with Danny Boyle, and a 2011 BFI Q&A with Nicholas Rogue, Jenny Agutter and Luke Rogue. Danny Boyle appears just about in every Nick Rogue Blu-ray talking about him, because he does believe Nicholas Rogue is the greatest British filmmaker of all time, which obviously I disagree with, but his films are still pretty amazing. So again, that's your photo essay book. This is the first draft screenplay that you get. And again, this is a novel, which differs slightly from the film as far as how they got there. In the book, it's a plane crash, whereas in the film, it's just an even better reason, and that scene is one of the most stunning scenes in the film. Yeah, watching it again, I think it did go up in my estimation. I mean, for me, it's still not a 5-star film, but like just about all of his films, I think it's 4 stars. Well, all of his classic films, shall we say. Not all of his films. Next is a bit of fun. It's When a Stranger Calls. And this also includes When a Stranger Calls Back, the 1990s TV movie. And this also, like the Changeling, has the soundtrack. And obviously the photo essay book that we're all so used to seeing in boutique label releases. If I can get it back in properly. That's a common problem. That's When a Stranger Calls and When a Stranger Calls Back. Getting to the end, you'll be happy to know. So this is the double bill of Willard and Ben. 2 wonderful rat movies. If you don't like rats, you're probably not going to like Willard and Ben. Willard is the first one, and Ben is the kids' version. This stars Bruce Davison, who has a relationship with rats, and then Ben is the one with the child. It's the knockabout comedy. It's a really nice performance by Ernest Borgnine in the first one as well, which I didn't realise he was in. A lot of fun if you're collecting rat movies. And finally, Rainer Werner Fassbinder's World on a Wire, which is interesting, to say the least, and kind of ahead of its time, like virtual reality, Matrix type stuff. I think this was originally for television. I could be wrong. It's 204 minutes. There are extras with interviews and a tribute to the cinematographer, and also the inevitable, look at that fashion, inevitable photo essay book. Words on a Wire. And that is my second site special editions backlog cleared. So thanks very much for watching. I know there's 1 or 2 that I don't have, and maybe one day I will. So let me know what your favourite films out of these ones are, which special editions I should get that I'm missing, and hopefully you'll watch more backlog cleared videos once I clear more of my backlog. I mean, these videos won't happen very often, but hopefully we'll get there eventually. This is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, saying thanks very much for watching.